forward. And actually, Eddie, I am going to stop sharing your screen and I'm going to share mine just to do some intros here. There we go. Welcome everyone to our June ALS Learning Series at the Les Turner ALS Foundation. I'm Anne-Marie Doyle. I just want to remind you all that you are off camera and currently muted. So just relax, sit back. The webinar should take about an hour or so, and we will have time for questions at the end. So feel free to submit those in the Q&A box. If there are any links that pop up, I will be dropping those as well. And I can also email those out to anybody who's attended if you just don't happen to grab it in the moment. Before we get started today, I just want to acknowledge that the learning series was made possible because of a generous donation from the Gilbert and Jacqueline Fern Foundation and our industry partner, Mitsubishi Tanaba Pharma America. We know that navigating ALS can be really difficult. It can be challenging. You know, what questions to ask, what treatment options are best, and we're here to help. So feel free to visit our online education tools. We have decision tools, information guides, and our ALS Learning Series. If you want to just take a peek at our backlog, feel free to visit us at lesturnерals.org. And if you're interested in joining the National ALS Registry, we highly recommend visiting cdc.gov/ALS. You can learn more about clinical trials. You can also help scientists learn more about ALS and symptom management, all environmental issues, like all of that. All right, so now let me introduce you to Eddie Ulrich from Bridging Voice. He is an assistive technology specialist. He came to the field of assistive technology through his combination training as an occupational therapist and a mechanical engineer. He's provided evaluations and trainings to people in various settings like schools, hospitals, and in their own homes. Eddie specializes in computer access and augmentative communication. Over the past 30 years, he's seen promising emerging technologies transform into powerful products for people with disabilities, including voice control and eye tracking. Eddie has been a salesperson and along as a therapist, but has always seen him as an assistive technology educator, believing that knowledgeable consumers evolve into more powerful and independent tech users. Eddie works patiently, but also diligently to train people in expanding their technical skills because poorly implemented technology solutions can be so overwhelming and frustrating. Eddie has been with Bridging Voice nearly since its beginning in 2019, and now working nationally and also internationally with a team of 10 experts to remove the access barriers between people living with ALS and communication. Welcome, Eddie. I am going to stop my share screen and I will let you take over.
Okay. Sound check. Can you all hear me?
Sounds good to me.
Oh, I was on a phone call this morning with Team Gleason, our team, and with Team Gleason. They're located in Louisiana, so there was a lot of y'all. So. And you should be able to see the slides as well. Is that fair?
Yep, that looks good to me.
Okay, welcome aboard, everyone. I see there are about 20 participants. So I'd like to just get, if you can just drop into the chat, whether you use voice access Android or voice control iOS on your Android or Apple phone, if you're currently a user of that technology. Caregivers, if you're with someone who's unable to type into the chat, if you can type into the chat, just really yes or no. I just want to know if I'm speaking with an experienced group, inexperienced group, or mixed group, or curious group. So, and Anne-Marie, I guess you can tell me what you learn from these chat entries.
Absolutely.
So again, it's about Android voice access or Hey Google voice access or Apple, iOS, iPhone, iPad voice control. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then it's no.
Uh,
That's
Bonnie and another user just reminded me we disabled the chat feature. So if you want to drop those into your Q&A where you were able to type, that might be a great solution.
Q&A. Okay. All right. Um, So I'll give you a little introduction first, and then if we collect some of that information, that'll be great. So I'm very pleased to be making this presentation through the Les Turner ALS Foundation. Um, Bridging Voice is a not-for-profit working nationally for people with ALS. We've been around for about 5 years, and I think we're just about to celebrate our 5th year anniversary. Or maybe we did already, not sure, but we're very close. Today's topic is the alternate access, is within alternate access for people with ALS. And alternate access, I'll get to in a moment, but using your phone or tablet differently. Okay, so if you're unable to use it by standard means, so using it differently, that's what would be alternate access. And specifically, one of the most popular and easy ways to do alternate access or control by alternate access is using your voice to control your mobile device, your phone, and or your tablet. So your iPhone and your iPad, or your Android phone and Android tablet, or a mix of the above.
And Eddie, just to pipe
Yes.
in here, it looks like we have a couple iOS users, so Apple users, and then a couple people who aren't using either, but are interested in learning about both features.
Okay. So you're saying iOS users, but not so much the voice control. Nobody said I use voice control. Nobody
Um,
said I use
there,
voice access.
yeah, there was one person who says, I use iPhone voice activation. And then
Okay.
somebody said they use Apple, but then a bunch of people are interested in just learning more. And then somebody also just typed in, I was part of an experiment for Google to use my iPad, but I don't understand assistive tech as of yet.
Okay. So I'm going to say that that most of you here are newbies or unfamiliar with what I'm going to show you. And I hope that you'll come away knowledgeable, one, and potentially excited about a wonderful, wonderful access method. All right, you'll see. So today's agenda will give you a little overview of what Bridging Voice does, what is alternate access for people with ALS, what is voice control and voice access on Apple and Android mobile devices, respectively, and then time for your questions. So first of all, Bridging Voice is a not-for-profit. We provide technology support for people with ALS, specifically around alternate access. In other words, someone who needs to access their phone, tablet, computer, communication device differently. And the standard way that we mostly control our technology is by hands, typing and mousing and swiping and such gestures. If you're having any trouble with any of those things, then that's one of the things that Bridging Voice can help you with. The general goal of Bridging Voice was that we wanted to ensure that every person with ALS has the support they need to access and communicate. So to make things clear, we do not supply equipment, we supply the support. So we work hand in hand with ALS associations, with Team Gleason, with any local, even vendors who are providing equipment and what happens after delivery. So we are an expert in figuring out what you need, how to use it. We don't sell anything, we share knowledge. We work outside the medical model. There's no insurance involved, there's no approval involved. There's no limit to the amount of support that you can get from us. Our challenge is to fight back against technology abandonment. There's good technology out there. It's unfortunately not as easy to use as we'd all like it to be. And so there is somewhat of a learning curve. And we want to help you get around that curve and get into a functional, productive place with the technology and prevent people from letting it collect dust or putting it in the closet. And our services are always free of charge. What we're doing today is in one of the two top areas that we work in. So I'm going to educate you about alternate access and specifically about voice input into mobile devices. And I'm actually going to do a little bit of training with you. So to give you an idea of how I might set this up for you and with you. But the idea is that you don't walk away saying, okay, got it. I think that you will need support in order to get it going and get it going efficiently. But those of you who are diligent might be able to go forward, from 0 to 60, just based on this webinar. But Bridging Voice, in addition to providing education and training, we also make customized solutions. Most of our day is spent, and we are a team of 8 care providers, speech pathologists mostly, and providing support for people who are using speech-generating devices, devices that talkers, talking boxes, etc. So that's where we spend most of our time, and that's for people who have in general, more advanced ALS, where their voice is unintelligible for some or all listeners. So we provide the training, customized solution. We provide tech support. I get calls at all hours of the day, every day. This is not working. That's not working. Tech support is closed. Can you help me? And we innovate. We're looking always for newer technologies. One of the areas that Bridging Voice is spearheading right now is the integration, how to integrate AI voices into speech-generating devices, which generally do not support the AI voices. So we're trying to push the AI voices into usage because of their clarity and their inflection and their expressiveness. And so that's one of the areas that we're working on. So I said that today's topic falls under the umbrella of alternate access. So alternate access is not a complicated idea, and I'll just read straight from the slide. If standard access on a computer is using a keyboard and a mouse with your hands, standard access on a smartphone or a tablet is tapping and swiping with your fingers, then alternate access might mean using your foot, your voice, your head, your eyes to control your computer, phone, or tablet, or it may involve using your hands and fingers in a different way. Alternate access usually involves additional equipment or software. However, in this day's topic, voice control and voice access require no additional hardware, and possibly the Android system will need to get a file, an app from the Play Store for free. Examples of alternate access: instead of using a mouse, use a trackball or a trackpad. Instead of using your finger, use a stylus. This is a particularly fat, heavy stylus, which is easier for people to grasp if one's grip is getting weaker. Using sticky keys to avoid pressing 2 or 3 keys at once. This is one of, you call it the big stretch across the keyboard. How do you do Control C and Control V, or Command C and Command V, or Shift 2 is the @ sign to put in an email address. So how do you do that if you don't have that stretch? Well, sticky keys can be the answer for you. Entering text by dictation instead of keyboarding. So that will be part of what we're doing today. The example here, number 4, is a Windows-based solution, Dragon software. but we're not talking about Dragon today, but it is in the same voice input alternate access umbrella group. How to control your computer, your Windows computer by voice, and how to dictate text. And another example is number 5, controlling your screen pointer with head mousing or eye tracking instead of a physical mouse. And that example in the picture is a Kuhazono head mouse system. Okay, take a look at this. Take a look at this graph, please, with me for a moment. And it is not intuitive. It's not a simple graph that you might see on the financial pages. And so there are 2 axes. There's a vertical axis, a y-axis, and an x-axis. And these are the 2 functional areas that bridging voice is most involved with. And the areas are your voice and your hands, right? The function of your voice and the function of your hands. In voice, we call it intelligibility. How intelligible are you? Despite any change in sound or graveliness or hoarseness, how intelligible, how strong is your voice? Does that change from morning till evening, different days, different volume, different clarity, familiar listeners, unfamiliar listeners? So that's all on that that x-axis above. And so one starts with sort of a green voice, if you will, clear and strong speech. And as in the ALS journey, often there is a movement toward loss of speech. And so that axis is going from left to right across the top, if you will. The other axis is for hand function. And again, sort of the green hand is a full range and dexterity in your hands and going toward no range and no dexterity. So if everything is all copacetic and everything is fine and your body is functioning fine, you're going to be located in the upper left corner. You're going to have clear and strong speech and full range and dexterity. So the ALS journey, however, is predictable, but not that predictable. And so you may find that you're losing hand function more quickly and your voice intelligibility is still strong. And that's where we're looking at today. So the push pin today is on voice input. You'll notice that it's way to the left in this graph. It is designed for people who have intelligible speech. But there's quite a range of intelligible speech, but it's somewhat down. In other words, somewhat along the progression where use of your hands to tap and swipe and pinch and stretch and zoom and whatever other gestures you might do on your phone, and type, of course, by tapping. This is becoming difficult, so voice is a really great option. So specifically, what we're looking at are 2 products. One is alternate access voice input. That's again the category. Again, if you look back again, sorry, if you look back, voice input is the alternate access method. So that's the title of this slide, alternate access voice input. And the product name is voice control. Okay, so what is voice control? It gives you full control of your iPhone and or iPad by voice. So when I say full control, I don't mean Siri. Okay, who is going to use it? When do you want to use it? When your hands are weakening, arms are weakening, but your voice is intelligible. The platform is Apple only for voice control. The cost is free. It's built into your phone. The degree of control is true hands-free. Just a moment on that. What does hands-free mean? It means that it's always listening. So an always listening device can be truly hands-free. Use the example if you know an Alexa or an Echo device or a Google Home. You say wake up, you say hello, you say Alexa, you say Cortana, you say Siri, you say right? It's listening for its wake-up command. That is a hands-free, indicator that it is likely a hands-free device. So it is with voice control. The command to get voice control started is the wake-up command. Ease of use, it is easy to use. It's very intuitive. It's very much like using your hands in concept. It's not at all like using your hands because it's using only your voice. The parallel or partner device is, I'm sorry, not device, but access method for an Android phone is called voice access. Let me just go back for a moment. So if you look at the screen, when voice control is running, and I'll point this out a number of times, there's a little blue circle here by the phone time, and it has a white microphone. It's no longer showing white microphones in today's voice control. It's showing kind of an audio signal, not a microphone. And the other indicator that voice control is running the way I like it to run are these number tags. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, these white on black or white on gray tags. The same thing on the voice access system. It does not have I didn't pick a slide that had a clear indicator when voice access is on, but when voice access is on, the numbers are showing. This is including for those Android users out there, like myself, you know that an Android phone, sorry, I clicked when I shouldn't have. Trying to, let's see if I can do, yeah. So Android phones have 3 buttons always. There's a home button, signified here by the circle. There's a go back button, signified here by the triangle. And there's open apps, all the recent apps, kind of like the app switcher in iOS. And so you see those are numbered, and they would be accessed simply by saying those numbers. So once again, full control of the Android phone, designed for the same kind of collection of symptoms: weakening hands, intelligible voice. It's only available on Android devices. It's made by Google. Cost is free. It is truly hands-free, but it's moderately easy. I called the other one very easy. Moderately easy only because every Android phone is different from the next. And so there are always quirks with Android. Apple is much more uniform across phones and across platforms. Okay, so I'm going to focus on voice control on the iOS operating system, the Apple operating system, and I'll just really zip through how it works, give you a quick show, and then we'll take questions about it and how it might, be in your future. And no matter actually what level of ability or disability, because it's a very powerful tool. So one thing that's important to explain is that there are three ways to control your phone, your iPhone, with your voice. And when I say iPhone, again, if you're an Android user, just, I said it, it's just silent, that iPhone or Android phone. So voice control is always listening and hands-free, separate tools. Voice control is not Siri. And so voice access is not Hey Google, right? So, and voice control is not Siri. Siri is limited. Siri is shallow. I hope she's not listening right now, but she'll only go so far and will not give you full control. And lastly, voice control is not tapping the microphone icon. Tapping the microphone icon allows you to transcribe some of your text. In other words, to be able to do some speech-to-text input. That's all it does. This is not what we're talking about. So if you think that you've used voice control because you've tapped the microphone, you haven't even started, right? So this is something that most people don't know about, but should know. Okay, so just a couple of days ago, I worked with a woman with ALS who in bed was able to talk and speak clearly. And when I showed her voice control, her reaction was, "Get out of here." She just couldn't believe that this was possible. So I'm going to give you a quick demonstration. It's actually, so I'm going to stop sharing my slides for a moment, and I'm going to start sharing my iPad screen. I'm going to do it. So I need permission on my other, Anne-Marie, if you can. I had permission on the laptop, but not on the.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's see.
So Eddie Ehrlich bridging voice. The other one is just Eddie Ehrlich. Okay, let's see. So sharing and sharing my screen. So let's see. All right. So if you notice, who can see the light colored number tags all over the screen? Who can see the blue circle, in this case, in the upper right corner, near where it says 100% charged, right? Those are my indicators that voice control is working. If you're watching this webinar on a phone, it's going to be hard to see, but not impossible, because you're scrunching an iPad screen onto a phone, and I'm also viewing in landscape. So it might be hard for you to see. But this is, my hands are not going to touch my iPad screen. I'll keep them here by my mouth. But your focus should be on the screen. I'm going to refer to the numbers, but first I'm going to use some interesting commands. Go home. And that chirp that some of you, all of you may have heard, is a confirmation chirp that I particularly like. Swipe right. Swipe left. And now I'm going to introduce you to my daughter through a photo. I did not prepare this, so I don't know where I'm going to end up here. So you'll see that Google Photos is an app at the bottom left of this screen. It looks like a four-colored flower, right? And it has next to it the number 25, and that's all I'm going to need to say, which is 25. It opens up a big, my whole gallery, right? So scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. I should have prepared. Scroll down, scroll down. Okay, maybe this is the better thing to do. So yesterday I was lying in a hammock. 6. That's my hammock between the trees in Harriman State Park in New York State. Zoom in. Hand up. Go back. And the view from my hammock is 7. Not bad. Go home. Now I'm going to send a text message to myself. 32. 10. Oh, it changed on me. 11. And if you'll give your attention to the bottom of the screen, it says where you type your message. For me, it's number 28. Let's see if I can't put a pointer on it right now. 28. I am meeting with a group through the Les Turner ALS Foundation. Delete all. I am meeting with a group from the Les Turner ALS Foundation. Tap send. Go home. Go to sleep. So when Jay saw this, she said, "Get out of here." So that's, if you've never seen this before, that's what I'm hoping you think about this. It is probably the most powerful tool that we use. And I'm going to try to share my slides again. Let's see how I can do that. It's probably the most powerful, but also totally free, no additional equipment needed, and easy to learn. So um, I'm a big fan, as you can tell. And from the current slide, see. Okay, so a real quick run through how you set this up. How do you set it up? I broke it down into 6 steps. Um, one, tap on settings. I mean, I'm talking about simple setup. So the first thing you need to do is go to settings. 2, go to accessibility. We're already 1/3 through the setup. 3, tap on voice control, not voice over, which is at the top. It's the first choice. Voice over is an accessibility feature for people with low vision, and your screen will start talking. We want voice control, which is about 10 down on the list. And now, once inside the voice control menu, we want to turn voice control on. The first time requires, that you have to agree to everything under the sun. I think there's allow, continue, okay is but you turn voice control on. Step 5, make sure all 3 sliders are on green: show confirmation, play sound, and show hints. The one that's usually off is play sound. And finally, the last step, tap overlay, where it says here overlay. And instead of none, which is the default, you're going to change it to item numbers. As soon as you do that, the screen will look exactly the way it looked before for me, right? The blue microphone will appear in the upper right corner, and the number tags will start to appear all over the screen. Easy peasy. That's the technical term. So these are the preferred settings. If we look at it overall, voice control is on, the 3 sliders are on, and overlay is set to item numbers. This is what I've determined to be the most efficient way to work with the least amount of speech generating and the most direct control. So one of the first commands there, what if you don't hear the chirp? Well, there's a voice control command, turn up volume, right? So that might be the issue. A lot of people have their phones muted these days, so you might have to unmute your phone to hear that chirp. So here are some of the most basic commands. You just heard me use the go to sleep command. I was tapping numbers all over the place by saying the numbers. You saw me swipe right and swipe left. I used go home. Show commands is a way to get to the reference of all the commands, a big long list of commands. But with these basic commands, I can navigate and control almost anything. There are some really neat features about voice control. And again, this is a good moment to remember voice access made by Google does practically the same thing. So 3 neat features. 1, Siri and voice control are totally separate. What does that mean? One can help the other. One can turn the other one on or off. So you can say to Siri, hey, my voice control is stuck. So, hey, Siri, turn off voice control. Hey, Siri, turn on voice control. I can do both those commands. I can open Siri with voice control. Not that I need to. I can just say, hey, Siri, that will work. So they're totally separate, and they can help each other out. They can complement each other. Siri is still probably the best way to make a phone call. Hey, Siri, call Anne Marie. Would be probably the most efficient way to make a phone call, rather than opening up the app for the phone by the number and then scrolling down, finding Anne Marie, and then choosing the number for the call. It's many more steps. So Siri can be incredibly efficient and the tool of choice, and it's totally available. There's no interruption. Likewise, there's no interruption to your touch on the screen. So if you're still able to touch, keep touching. Keep using your fingers. If you're touching in the morning and talking in the afternoon, do it that way. Point two, you can use an iPad and an iPhone next to each other because you can give specific commands. You can put one to sleep and wake up the other one. The one that you want to talk to is the one that's going to be awake, and you're going to put the other one to sleep. So these commands, for example, go to sleep iPad, wake up iPhone, are two separate commands that will put the iPad to sleep, wake up the iPhone, and now you're giving commands to the iPhone. When you're done with the iPhone, you say go to sleep iPhone, and you say wake up iPad and play your Netflix movie. Voice control does not require an internet connection to run, and it runs in 8 languages, maybe more by now. That's an old slide, so you check on that. Should I switch to an iPhone for voice control? Not necessarily, so is the answer, because voice access does pretty well, and there is a lot to be said for phone familiarity. If you were looking for efficiency and productivity, you want to stay with a system that is familiar. If you haven't used a phone in a while and you're deciding about what smartphone to get, and you have a good strong voice, I would say that there is reason to go for iPhone. If, however, your voice is very slurred and your access is marginal, by voice, then you may not be able to use this tool for very long. And so I think a new investment certainly is not warranted. Also, if you have an Android phones work much better with speech generating devices. So almost with the exception of one, all speech generating devices are Microsoft Windows based, and Android Google operating systems work very well and very comfortably with Microsoft. They're mostly plug and play, mirroring your phone, being able to control your phone, whereas iPhones and Apple and Microsoft are like water and oil, and they fight like cats and dogs, whatever metaphor you like. They don't work very well together. There are a number of programs that kind of push them together. They work okay, but an Android phone is certainly more easily integrated with almost all speech generating devices. Lastly, some other more advanced commands. So if you do have a little bit of exposure, so you can scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. I was doing that in my photos, but this is a very powerful command. Scroll to bottom or scroll to top to go all the way down or all the way up. The app switcher. There are two kinds of people in the world, people who know what the app switcher is and people who don't know what the app switcher is. The app switcher is where you swipe away your open apps to kind of cut down on memory usage. But it's really meant to be able to switch from app to app more quickly than going through the home page. So there's a command for that. And I think you saw me, I said delete all when I was sending a text message. I was able to just edit away, and there are tons of editing commands. So again, full control of the phone. All right, the big takeaways. All right, and again, I'll try to say this, I'll genericize it for Android and Google. So voice access is easy to set up and easy to use. Google's voice access is nearly as powerful as iOS voice control. Voice control won't interfere with finger tapping or Siri access. And the same thing with voice access won't interfere with finger tapping or Hey Google commands. Start using voice control as early as you wish. Pals can free their hands for other activities. So sometimes the approach for alternate access is there's lots of things that your fingers might want to do. You might be controlling the remote control on your recliner. Maybe it's the remote control of the TV, and you're just able to manage that, but not the phone when it rings. You can't switch, and you can't do both. So this is a way to free your hands to do other things, to keep your hand on a mouse, on the computer, while you're hands-free on the phone. Bridging Voice is here to help with voice control and all other alternate access questions. There is a good Apple support YouTube video if you go into YouTube and type in how to use voice control on iPhone, iPad. It's an Apple YouTube video. Maybe drop that into the chat. Can you copy and paste? I can't. I can't do that. That's way too complicated for me. I'll try it. So oops, see? So I'm going to highlight that and paste it into the chat. And it's not coming through with a link. So that's what you need to type, though, in the YouTube search, how to use voice control on iPhone, iPad. You'll probably get a dozen of them, but there is one from Apple itself. So, so that is the end of today's presentation. I hope it gives you a taste of what voice control on an Apple phone and the equivalent voice access on an Android phone is all about, and why it's exciting, why it's easy, why it's straightforward, and why it's extremely powerful. Bridging Voice, we work through referral partners, but if you send anything to info@bridgingvoice.org, we'll set you up right quick. And you can also find Bridging Voice information, www.bridgingvoice.org. You can sign up for additional trainings that are not necessarily through the Les Turner ALS Foundation. And that's the end of my presentation, leaving plenty of time for any questions you might have about this or other access ALS speech generating communication issues.
Eddie, thank you so much. That video was incredible. I'm with Jay here. Get out of town. Get out of here. Um, if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop those into the Q&A. We did have a couple that were submitted through our registration. And I'll kind of start off with those. Addie, one of the questions was about placing and answering calls from multiple rooms, and they were thinking, would an Echo or a Google Home be beneficial in doing that?
So that sounds to me like what's called sort of an intercom,
Mm-hmm.
right? To be able to intercom from room to room. So I happen to live with Echo devices, so that is a little bit more in the home automation department, but you can drop in, use the drop-in feature of the Echo. You can drop in on any other Echo that might be in the network. So that might be a way to, and you can announce. There are people that I've heard them to do the drop-in feature. So in other words, if I have an Echo kitchen and I have an Echo in my own space, and when I say Echo, I mean a dot or a view or any of their features go from little to large. So every Echo has a name, and you can say drop in on Echo Kitchen. When you're dropped in, it opens up an intercom, and then you can talk two ways to and from the kitchen. So you can hunt down your family members or your caregivers by moving from Echo to Echo. And the one that I've seen and used more recently is the announce feature. So it's Alexa, announce. What do you want me to announce? I need help in here, and it will announce to all the Echoes in the house, this recorded message. It will record your message. Those are two different ways. They're different. Um, but yeah, so there's definitely intercom features. I'm sure that so you can put the Alexa app, of course, on your phone, and you can control it that way too. So, so yes, I think that answers the question.
What about somebody had a question about changing the channel using their iPhone
Mhm.
when it's paired with their Apple TV? and being able to either change the channel, turn the volume up, turn the volume down.
Right. So the beautiful thing about voice control in this instance is what we call transparency. In other words, as far as the phone is concerned, it doesn't really care that you're talking to it or touching it. Whatever, it's getting the correct input. So if you can find an app that controls your television, and certainly Apple TV is practically a built-in app, voice control will number it. It will, when you open it, it will have the numbers sprayed over the screen for the volume up and volume down and channel up and whatever, and up, down, right, left, and select. The Apple TV remote is notoriously very, very spare, but you can navigate it all by number. They're actually, Apple TV happened to have a problem. They changed their interface for a little while, and they still may be sending out, where they changed the the directional control. Instead of up, down, right, left, and select, they gave you like a little mouse pad where the pointer moved on the screen. And that is not possible to do by number. It's much more of a mouse. So, but there is a way to load on the old Apple TV app. That was the solution that I had done previously. But I think they've remedied that, that it's now a choice whether you can go directly to a target by your finger across your phone like a mouse pad, or you can go to discrete up, down, right, left, in our case, by number rather than by finger.
Eddie, is there
But
a certain iOS or like system like iOS 13 or greater? Somebody had said that they followed the steps in the setting, but they don't see the numbers like you had mentioned
so
in the
voice
presentation.
control, voice control needs, I think, iOS 13 or greater. It's
Okay.
pretty hard. It's not easy to find an old phone that has something under iOS 13 now, since they're just about to come out with iOS 18.
Hmm.
But it is possible to have an older phone and then voice control won't work. However, I can help troubleshoot if it's 13 or over. The numbers only appear if you change the overlay from none to item numbers. So you can have voice control on, but you can't tap anywhere without an overlay. You need an overlay, or you need to know exactly the name of every little target on the screen. And then you could say, tap the name. This, like I said, for those of you with the photographic hearing, or I said tap send. I didn't say 17, which was the number by send. I said tap send because I happen to know that the name of that button on the screen has a name and its name is send. Then I can say that. But if you come to a screen that has, 14 buttons, what are they called? I don't know. So the numbering system is quicker and shorter.
Okay. And speaking of iOS and they announced some newer accessibility features that I think you and I kind of perked up at when we heard. I'm not sure if everybody else on the call has heard, but do you mind talking a little bit more about the updates that should be available on iOS 18?
So the big exciting news about iOS 18 is eye tracking. Um, Eye tracking. So I don't expect that there will be much change to voice control in iOS 18, though I have not seen it yet. And if it is, it will be incremental. It'll be, some improvements, hopefully. Um, the big change in iOS 18 is the inclusion of eye tracking using the front-facing camera. The same front-facing camera that you use for FaceTime is going to now track your eyes, and you'll be able to point and dwell click with your eyes, which is incredible. This is technology that until now has required the addition of a camera, of an infrared camera. This will use the built-in, what they call the RGB camera, the front-facing camera, um, and it will track your eyes. And so, from the people who have tried it, it has a couple of advantages. One, it can work in the dark. Um, no, I'm sorry. Did I say in the dark? I meant the opposite. It'll work in sunlight, right? So if it can see your eyes, then it should be able to work. Um, and what was the other one about the front-facing camera? Oh, no additional hardware. So the problem is that you won't be able to FaceTime while you're using
Mm.
I'm sorry, eye track, the new eye track, because the camera is going to be, taken by that. And from what I understand from the trial so far is that the accuracy is not yet good enough to control a keyboard, a full keyboard on the screen. That remains to be seen. So you'll probably need a split keyboard or a two-step keyboard. But if you're looking at an iPhone with those tiny little, um, you know, keyboards that you were tapping once with your thumbs or your index fingers, you probably will not be able to accurately get get that with your eyes at this point. The question is, will they be able to improve it? Remains to be seen. So that's the only uh, um, iOS 18 feature, accessibility feature that I know of, but I'm sure there are more. I don't know the others.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't remember somebody had asked specifically about updates regarding voice control in iOS 18. I don't remember them announcing that,
Mm.
but that doesn't necessarily mean that there won't be.
Right. And sometimes features are added and sometimes they're worthy to be ignored. And sometimes it's like, wow, I can't believe we lived till now without that. So I don't know. Um, the presentation that I just gave you is almost verbatim from iOS, 16, so hasn't uh, hasn't changed much into 17. There were hardly any changes. So
And thank you for emphasizing that was going to be my question, just because I know the language settings over the last couple years with Apple have gotten they've just enhanced. So voice control is available in 8 different languages right now.
right. So it's different than the where you're going to see the longer list of languages is often Siri will
Yep.
have more languages. So Siri has a limited set of and you really well. So um, so this is voice in. I was going to say that voice out, you'll find many more languages because the text, I'm sorry, text to speech is more developed. So you can read text off a screen in many, many languages, dozens, if not hundreds of languages. It's the language in to be able to speak to your phone in languages. And I'm just wondering now, I'm in 17, so I'm just going to pop over and look in the settings in voice control. I get 17.5. I was up to date, till yesterday, but who knows when that 18 is actually coming
I
out.
know.
And it says language. It's still German, Spanish, French, Japanese, Chinese, and English. So actually, I'm counting 6
6.
languages, but
Yeah.
there are 4 different Englishes, 5 different Englishes. So
Oh,
maybe I was being generous. 3 different Spanishes. Um, so it's um, I think there's some limitation there.
fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Eddie. I want to be mindful of everybody's time, so we will start to wrap up before everybody goes. I do, let's see if I can share this now, and I will Whoops, there we go. I just want to plug our next topic. So Thursday, July 25th at noon Central Standard Time, we're going to have Allison Boulay from the Northeast ALS Consortium, or NEALS, come to talk about the RISE initiative, which focuses on clinical research, inclusion, support, and education. So if you have any interest in learning more about NEALS, the ALS consortium that I just mentioned, if you have any interest in learning more about clinical research or how to be a clinical research ambassador, how you can participate, this will be a fabulous webinar for you to attend. And we should have that link up on our website either later today or early next week. And as previously mentioned, I'll stop sharing. This was recorded, so if you want to share this with a caregiver, a family member who couldn't make it, or a friend, or anything like that, this recording should be up on our website and our YouTube channel within the next few days. I want to thank everybody for your time this afternoon. Eddie, I want to thank you for your expertise. We had somebody drop in the Q&A that this was one of the best webinars we've provided her. So they were able to follow your steps and get voice activation up and running in, a matter of a couple minutes. So thank you so much. Thank you for giving up your afternoon today for me. And we look forward to seeing you all in July. Have a good one, everybody. Oh, bye.